Let me show a little preview of our section survey. Here I've created our instructions. You're going to do a survey through a drain, which I'm going to estimate is about right here. Choose a direction, draw a line, and you'll pick one line, one traverse that goes through the drain, either in the horizontal or the vertical. You can also draw them parallel to this if you want. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to pick a direction that goes through this and kind of draw a line, find some marking points, and then do your survey. So here's a survey through those points. I've made this up. These are not real numbers. You're going to have to get the real numbers. But I suggested in this case that I would set up the instrument here, start on one end or the other, draw a line, figure out equal steps all the way across so that I can get the right number of those. And I just did a whole bunch of points and figured out the elevation. Okay, so the elevation at each of those points. And quite frankly, you don't even, if you were to just take your rod and do the rod readings, you don't even need all of these points because you're going along a line between two marked points. But I'd like you to get the extra practice. So these survey lines are not technically needed, but I'd like you to get the practice. All you really need is the markers for where that traverse is, and just at even points, set your rod and determine the elevation. Okay, that's the real requirement. But we're going to get extra practice reading the theodolite and the azimuth angle, and we're going to try to get those off of these full azimuth and distance things. Okay, and then you're going to present the results, and the results are basically, this is a slice right of the ground right through there. We're above the ground and below the ground, and this is the ground level. And there are other things that we'll learn how to do later on about how to make this an industry standard drawing. Right now, I'm interested that you just get this drawing done. And I'm going to see that I've got one extra thing showing in here. Our survey lines should be not shown in that view. So this is what it should look like. So we should have something that says how far apart each of these lines are as we go along here, and something that says which each of my major lines are along here. Okay, so that's what that should look like. And we'll do a little bit more work later on to play around with how to get this to look really good. So how did I do all that? I drew these in, and then I made a copy. I just copied this line up here, and then I did some offsets. And I drew a line, and I put it on the, this should be on the thick layer probably. There it is. It's on the thick layer. And I offset 10. Okay, so my scale is not even. Along this way, each one of these lines is 10 feet. Okay, and along this way, each one of these big lines is 0.5 feet. Okay, and to do that, I did these at 10-foot increments, and then the little lines are at 2-foot increments. And that's just because I'm using a scale factor of 20 later on. Okay, so I've got a big scale difference so that I can see the slope. Otherwise, we would barely see anything. It would be almost indistinguishable. But we want to really see where the water is going to go from one edge over to the other. Okay, and then at each one of these points, I just projected these up. I did projection lines from here, and I made them project up. And I just, if this one was 1, I drew up to the 1 line. This one was 0.81, so I drew up to the 0.8 line. 0.75, I got kind of in between those. Some of these I got really close, 0.62. But then these ones I said, okay, well, what happens if I don't? If I just went 0.2, something easy to get to. So these don't have to be perfect. You can make them more or less rounded off to the nearest line, and it looks fine. Then I drew a polyline between each of those. Each of these got a polyline added to it. Okay. And then I did the p-edit command, and I picked a spline and a global width. So hopefully that helps you. For those of you who have done all that, helps you remember how this was done. If you haven't done it, we will do it in lab. Okay, and when I came over to here, I made a copy of my layout. I made this viewport a little bit smaller, and I created a second viewport to show just this stuff. And this one, I do have my line weight showing. Don't really know what my line weights are all set at. So I did some stuff on the thick and the thin. I'll let you figure out where you want to do those. Thick is showing at 0.020, so I think those should show up okay. And there we go. And then when you do your plot preview, should look okay. Let's go to my previous plot preview. And I put it into monochrome. And you can see when I do my plot preview, my lines are showing up. Okay, I was just too far zoomed out to be able to see those well. Okay, so that's what our end result is going to look like for our section views. It's not a full industry standard drawing, but it's giving you the skills to make one.